Welcome to the Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UKOCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for the Swift Half.
You're listening to the 7th most popular podcast for people who understand that life is one long malapropism.
So hello listener, and no, it's not that show. Welcome to the Swift Half. I'm Ian. Unfortunately, Alan has been sacked from the pub, so it's myself today. Just kidding, listener, just kidding. Alan is currently up to his elbows in masking tape and screw fix stuff and wood and all kinds of lovely stuff as he gets the farmyard jam ready to go. So I'm kind of flying solo this week. However, I am joined in the pub by our good friend Martin Gemmell. Martin, welcome back.
Evening everyone, happy Friday.
Happy Friday all. So Martin, as is traditional, what are you drinking?
Well, last week was a real disappointment, mate. It was like some sort of Rechabite temperance meeting. Everyone on the no alcohol or the water. Is that a water bottle? That better have gin in it, mate. I am drinking a local beer, Strangers Brewing Company. It's no secret that my favourite tipple is mead, but this is a Nectar Pale Ale, 4.2%. It's really rather nice. Says it's sessionable, not just a session ale. It's got that potential of you might like to try this as a session. I'll be getting more of that.
Right. Well, you actually spotted it. Listener, I will describe it because it's not a video podcast. Martin is drinking out of the traditional bubble type glass, which you can only usually see aged gentlemen will say in pubs drinking from.
This is one of my family heirlooms, mate. A proper Ravenhead pub glass.
It's funny that kind, particularly around here, in that you'll go into a pub and they'll have about 3 of those glasses. And all of them will be spoken for by someone who comes in every day at 3:30 or 4:30 or later on, and it'll be Fred's glass.
Yep.
So that's exactly what it is. Martin, you actually spotted it. Unfortunately, I've joined you, listener, straight from the gym, and I really don't want to have a terrible hangover tomorrow. So I'm kind of on brand. In this water bottle, we've got Builder.
Yeah.
Which is building better athletes, apparently. And yeah, I may move on to a beer later, listener, and if I do, I'll let you know. But let's get straight to it, Alan. Alan? Oh, God, already.
Ian, my friend, welcome to the Swift Half. How was that? Can I replace him yet?
Perfect, absolutely perfect. I'll put a good word for you in a brewery. But Martin, let's get straight to it. This past weekend, everyone was talking about nuclear.
Yes, indeed.
Because it was the Nuclear Challenge Cup, and we're going to go through the results in a bit. But what I did want to talk to you about, what Nuclear Challenge Cup has, is a massive trophy. Did you see this trophy?
I didn't until you put it in the notes. And I thought, well, that's like European Cup. Kind of trophy-wise, we're straying into sort of European football or maybe a proper sport like rugby union.
Yeah, something like that. It really is a proper cup. And I will say, spoiler alert, listener, but we're going to tell you results in a minute anyway. Becky won the ladies, and Becky is petite, so I was wondering for a second whether it was a reflection of the person who won it, but no, it is genuinely really, really big. And we did ask Martin whether Becky gets to take that home.
She could probably put wheels on it and motorise it, mate. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it is a perpetual cup that does get kept there, and it is engraved. But the reason I put it in the show notes is, what do you think about this? Having a kind of trophy that you don't necessarily get to take home, but there forever.
I like it. I think, because it stays down there, it's that advertising piece, isn't it, around being on brand. So when you go down to nuclear, you can see the cup and it's there and it's got people's names on it. It's a bit like I believe they kind of have the same at Wimbledon, don't they? They've got these big things with all the winners on it. And obviously you get your your medal, or you get a little token that says, well, I came first. So I don't have a massive problem with that, but I think that you should get a replica of it to sit on your mantelpiece.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe even a smaller one, yes?
Yeah. Sorry, I should have said a miniature. Yes, not just the whole thing. I mean, unless the whole thing was like, chocolate or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Although that reminds me of Decafit, which actually does give you, we've talked about this on the show previously, listener, that you do get a Deco RAM with, if you come first, second, or third in the pro race, coloured, as you imagine, gold, silver, or bronze. And they are actually heavy. I think they are £22. So if you were to win it in Spain, for example, and be flying on Ryanair, it might cost you your holiday to get it back.
It certainly cost you the entry fee again just to get it home.
But yeah, obviously, Martin, me and you sadly never have to worry about that.
Well, this is a point though. You'd probably be cheaper with Ryanair booking a seat for your trophy and saying it doesn't have any luggage.
That's a good idea. That takes a lot of pre-planning, though. How confident must you be to book a seat for it?
It's win-win. You're going to get a seat to yourself.
That's quite true. That's very true. Yeah. But back to nuclear, and yeah, I think our decision is great idea, and maybe more races should do it.
Yeah, I think so, especially ones that have a permanent base. So
yeah, that's a good thing. Because I was thinking like Tough Mudder, World's Toughest Mudder, whether that should have something, because you get a grail, but I wonder whether they should have like a massive grail for the overall winner.
Yes, actual skull-shaped, sized, proportioned.
Actual skull proportion. Of course, you get a giant check, which may be better.
Yeah, again, it's how you're going to get that in your luggage.
That's true. I will say, though, nuclear looked a lot of fun. Were you catching the coverage? We put some on the various socials.
Yeah, fantastic coverage. Low rig. It kind of gives me the fear, but I was down at, and I know we're going to come back to it, I was down at London West, and there was some really tall people doing hang tough, and their toes were scraping the ground. And then I caught some of the stuff with the low rigs, and I thought, God, it doesn't, unless you're only 1.5 feet high, how do you even go about tackling that? That it boggles my mind. The core strength needed, That's
the thing. It really is that core strength, and be able to suck in your core. Even if you don't have much of a core, me and you, Martin, we have generous cores. But even if you're a wee little thing, just sucking it in must be really tough doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So hats off for everyone. The video footage that you had there. I was in awe of it. I was fascinated just watching it.
I'm going to credit that to Katie Joyce. I believe it was her, but if it wasn't her, mystery camera person, reveal yourself in the future, and you can go into apology corner.
Which will be Alan, not me.
Of course. So, Martin, you are, however, being a substitute, Alan, because I believe you got some results for us.
I certainly do. So we've already mentioned Becky came first. So Nuclear Races Challenge Cup, category female, Becky Neal came first for Nuclear Phoenix, Federica De Caria, Nuclear Phoenix, and Louise Ferriman, Rumble Racing. Top 3. Do you want the top 3 or do you want the top 5?
Let's go down to 5. You've got them there.
Fabulous. Tamar Barkley, you're just making me do this because of the names. But it's a British race. Hey! And Karen McQuarrie in 5th. So for Fit Body Farm. So that was nice. Well done, Karen.
Well, I was actually making you do it because I did know who the top 5 was, and they're all friends of the show. So we all like Karen, all like Tamar. Obviously, Fedi, Becky, and Louise are big friends of the show. So well done all. That sounds like such, on paper and in reality, sounds like such a tight field. Yeah,
this sounds like your choices, mate. This is your predictions.
Actually, that's a good point. Should I just check? Give me a second. Let me just check what I put in.
Let me guess.
oh no, Martin! I got 1 and 2 mixed up. I went with who's hot. I went Fedi first, then Becky. Sorry, Becky, but I did have Louise in at 3rd, so that's good. And I did have Tamar and I had Karen Macquarie, so well done to me. I might have got maximum points there. I'd have to check. Well, I've not got maximum, but I might have got the most amount, so I'll have to go back and
The most
check
you were going to get, yeah.
Yeah, should we check the men's?
Yeah, just before you get unfriended by Becky. Yes, absolutely. Men's, Morgan Maxwell, Rumble Racing first. Daniel Titcombe, Team Viper. Jason Brunick, third. Scott Barker for OMRM. And Darren Martin.
Again, all great racers. And I've got to say, Morgan is coming on leaps and bounds, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. This is for your future predictions, folks. Names to watch, absolutely. And I think that's kind of why I wanted to do the top 5. Just add that element of doubt for your next predictions.
Absolutely. And I've just checked and I got all 5 out of 5. Well done, me.
Well done, you. Absolutely.
Do we have that? Of course, was a UKOCR series race. Do we know how that affects the scores on the doors?
As in overall standings, yes, we do. Look at this! I'm actually organised for once. This is terrifying. So, first position, Frederica De Caria. Second, Becky Neal. Third, Josie Lloyd. Then Louise Ferriman and Tamar Barclay.
Well done, ladies. And for the men's?
And for the men's, Morgan Maxwell, Jason Brunick, Scott Barker, Darren Martin, and Fergal Keeney.
Well done to all the men. Did Fergal run nuclear as well? So did he get some points there?
Well, he is Nuclear Phoenix, isn't he? So 1 second, let me just double check. You're making me work for this. Yes, he did. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I think he was 7th.
Yeah, but
sixth. Sorry, Fergal.
Sorry, Fergal, but he does really sell this idea that the more races you go to, the better your chances are to head up the series. Yeah. I know we're only 2 races in, listener, so everything could change and that, but it is quite interesting. Because we started with Spartan Race as the first one, it's really kind of separated people out a lot because there were so many races.
Yeah, totally. And this could be formative as well, because your next ones obviously are like Road Rampage, Total Warrior, but then you've got Beach Ballistic, which is a 16k that's going to feel like hell on the sand. So getting the points in now, even a top 10 finish, it's a bit like Formula One, isn't it? A decent standing on a really hard track is going to do you the world of good.
Yeah, it's almost the James Burton tactic from last year, in that he went to a lot of the early races and he's not panicking when he gets later. He can then work on improving his scores.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just, like you say, and mentioning James, he came first in the Masters for the Challenge Cup. So it is just about putting those points on the board.
Yeah, me and James are the same age. It really hurts my soul to find out that he is a Masters. So yeah, there's something about that really does. Although it reminds me, I've still not heard from Tough Mudder yet what they're counting as Masters.
I think it's just generally anything over 50, isn't it? Really?
I think it should be anything over 60.
I'd have to agree.
Yeah. And that has nothing to do at all with robbing Alan of his chance of glory. Nothing at all, listener. I just think the 60 plus category doesn't get enough love, and they should get their opportunity to win the Masters at Tough Mudder.
Yeah. What does Masters in golfing start? There's a thing. Where does that start?
I'm not quite sure, because people go to the Masters at like 18, don't they?
I've never understood it.
It's a bit like High Rocks, and we'll have more High Rocks talk later on, listener, but it's a bit like High Rocks with the Open and Pro.
Yeah.
Which, pros are not all getting paid, and the Open can include pros if you want to enter it.
That's it. And it's just as well as not High Rocks in the Red Light District. Open Pro is an entirely different thing. Anyway.
That is a completely different thing. Before we finish on the nuclear talk, did you see the Travelator, by the way? Because I think that made a lot of difference.
Yes, I did. Especially like Wendy Brothers touring up the slow zone, having tackled the Travelator, never again. But yeah, absolutely. But that was the same last year, though, wasn't it? That when who was it got overtaken on the Travelator? It'll come back to me. Or listeners, go back. Yes, thank you. And that really made a huge difference. So I suspect they're a bit like space hoppers.
Yes.
Who belong in OCR.
Yeah, that's true. Although looking at nuclear, because I think Dassos got caught at, I want to say, that race, which is now Rude Rampage, a Rough Runner. There it goes.
Yep.
And I will say nuclear have got their travelator set up a little bit different, which aids for runners. So we don't have that squishy thing at the bottom.
Yeah.
They have theirs, so there's actually a board, so you're running up and then you hit the travelator.
Yeah, it's almost like a kickboard, isn't it, as opposed to that sponginess that Rat Race 30 Weekend had as well.
Because so many people would run straight up at spongy enough and it would just completely stop their momentum.
It was like hitting a trumpet. Yeah.
We don't have enough trumpets in obstacle racing.
Well, see, it is a fine line between OCR and It's a Knockout. I'm all for trumpets.
Well, they have them at Ninja Warrior, don't they?
Yeah.
Race directors out there, put a trumpet in your obstacle race, please. Let's see it.
Yep. Imagine a trumpet just leading up to any of the bars, any of the overhead bar obstacles. That could be amusing.
Actually, it would really be hilarious, to be fair.
You meant to rap knuckles as you misjudged your takeoff.
Oh, could you imagine?
Wily coyote shapes on the boards at Mudderhorn and Pyramid Scheme. That could be just genius, mate.
Oh, a trumpet onto Mudderhorn. I'd love that.
Yep.
I would absolutely, because I do like Mudderhorn, but sometimes I cannot be bothered with that initial part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've taken away the board, not the board, the little ledge. Can't remember what they call that. For you to stand on to try and get a boost. They've taken that away. The back to tougher attitude. So a little trumpet, that'd be perfect. Absolutely.
Do you reckon we can carry it around? Is it in the room? Because I know when it comes to like toughest mudder, there's stuff in the rules about no fins, no this, no that, no armbands. I believe. I'm not sure if you can have armbands, but
so I think you just get there on the Friday night, tuck it under Mudderhorn. Technically, at this point, when you start the race, it's part of the obstacle. You get to Mudderhorn, you unpack it because it's already there. Who's to say it wasn't put there by Giles?
It could be part of the penalty option.
See?
There we go, listener. So by all means, please do that.
Your own trumpet.
Your own trumpet. Okay. Well, we're not completely done with nuclear because as well as having nuclear challenge, it was the inaugural nuclear fit.
Yes, indeed. So, I mean, really, nuclear fit, high rocks for people who like outdoors.
I guess that's the way of saying it, yeah.
Save on the cost of a big haul. We've spoken, not the Swift Half, I've spoken about the price of, the venues and how expensive it is and trying to recoup that and, sort of shoveling more people in through the doors. Don't have that problem with outdoors massively. So, yeah.
No, exactly. And when you think about it, it's definitely good for someone like nuclear who have their own land.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. Let me just bring up my notes on it, funnily enough.
You got notes? That's strange because I do have the results, would you believe?
You do the results then.
I'll do the results. So in the female category, easy for me to say, see this builder's whistling beer. We've got Alexandra Vargin in first place with a time of 50 minutes, 16 seconds. Alexandra is also known as High Rock Sasha, so you'll probably know her as Sasha. We then have Chloe Hammond in second place, 53:23. We have Danny Mitchell in 1 hour, 1 minute 39 in third. We have Marie Bissadi in an hour 2 flat in fourth. And then Sarah Wenham in an hour 2:52 in fifth place. So well done to the ladies there. We then had the men, which included Reese Jones, who is Team My Zone, with a time of 48:07, and Simon Pepper, also Team My Zone, who people might know. I think he's primarily in the UAE. I hope I've got that right or not got that right.
No, I think that's right. Yeah.
Because it's Lossie Pepper's dad, I think. But have you got the results up?
No, but I can do, probably, yes.
You got them up. Go to men. I'll let you read out Simon's time.
Glad I put my glasses on. 48:08.
1 second in it.
Yeah. And not a massive amount of difference between third place. Neither.
David Kelly, who's been on the show, 49.10 in third
12
place. Greg Wilson with 51.48 was in fourth place. Then Ed Freeman with 52.31 was in fifth. And teams, okay, so Team MyZone took first place with a time of 40 minutes 23. The Not So Mean Machine.
I like that one.
And one of these is a fan of the show. Charlotte Malone is in that team. And that's a mixed pair team coming second overall.
That's pretty good.
So Charlotte and I think a teammate was Ryan. So Ryan, I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. Although if I've got that wrong, I shouldn't be apologising to Ryan. But yeah, it was Ryan and Charlotte who 49.39. Then we had Scans, Mavericks, and Soulmates who rounded out the rest of it. I'm not quite sure who the team members were there.
I do like the ninth place team, but we can't talk about them because it's Fight Club East Coast. And the first rule is not to mention it, so it just goes from 8 to 10. There you go.
It is. And what I will say, Martin, is that Nuclear Fit did exactly what they promised, is if you expand the results, you can check each of the zones. So you can see exactly how people did. Yeah,
you can see the splits, can't you? It's really interesting.
It is. That plough pole looked fun for a lot of people.
I just think that they've taken High Rocks, they've put it outside in a farm, and gone, what have we got lying about that roughly that roughly emulates it? You know what? We've got some tractor tires. And so, well, you know what? We've got some vague metal bits of implementation and some sandbags. Let's make a plough pool. We just need to reindustrialize the country and just actually make that a plough.
That is such a great idea. Yes, let's turn it into an actual plough. But yeah, our good friend Mike Nolan also did well. He got sub an hour, and he said that he had fun with the plough pull.
I think after a light shower it might be better. We've joked a little about friction coefficients and High Rocks and the carpet and stuff like that. A light shower would just aid plough pool. That would just be perfect.
It really would, particularly if you plough the running lanes.
And then it's a proper trail run.
Then it's a proper trail run. Right, so I think we will move on from Nuclear. We've got a race upcoming that I'm going to mention because a listener wrote in and asked us if we'd just give him a quick plug. So I absolutely will do this. 1 second, let me just pull it up. It is Forest Warrior.
Yeah.
Which is a great local race. So thank you to Paul for promoting that race. And did you have a look at this one by any chance?
I did, because I thought, where's this? And it's in Gloucestershire, which, if I remember rightly, is too poor to be in Oxfordshire and too English to be in Wales. So, it looks really good. The prices are good. If you want a timing chip, first mud, as it were, because it's a mud run, 50 quid plus your plus booking fee, and 45 quid, and it looks like a decent 10k. Plus, there's your usual Marshall entry,
which is always something to good. And we do have a number of people who listen to this who are in the Southwest. So if you can support it, please do. Martin, I can't actually remember. When's the date on that?
16th. Let me double check. 16th of July. Yeah.
16th of July. So plenty of time to sort yourself out. Does it clash with anything we're aware of?
It might do, but who cares? It's a local small run. If it clashes with a bigger run, I'd say go and do this. And that's a wee bit odd coming, but support your local one. The big ones get enough. Plus, there's a kids 1 kilometre obstacle as well.
There is. To be fair, it only clashes with one thing, which is Tough Mud in Manchester. And outside people who are up here or will travel, that's still pretty much anyone from Birmingham down can go to this race.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about this coming week. I know we usually do races at the end, but I'm on a roll now. Guess what's on this coming weekend?
What's on this coming weekend?
A ton of pretty muddy obstacle rushes, inflatable rushes, pretty muddy kids. And you know what? Brilliant, because these are the races which get people thinking about moving on to another obstacle race.
Absolutely, and this is the progression that we've spoken about, isn't it? Park run, pretty muddy. Maybe I'll tackle something else. Maybe that little local. That I tell you what, I'm in the Southwest. Forest Warrior looks fun.
Exactly, yeah, and Cornwall pretty muddy. Forest Warrior guys, if you can get your way down to down to Cornwall this weekend, go and flyer it.
Mm-hmm.
Do people still do that? Have you seen that?
Do they still do that?
I'm not sure. Maybe they should, because we often talk about the effective ways of marketing. I think flyering is still a good idea.
It's what you do with the flyers afterwards. I think there's this horrible woke attitude to the environment of, you can't put a flyer up without someone having to come around and pick it all up afterwards, or sort of printing and stuff. With is there an electronic flyer? Is there a way of doing that sort of thing? Probably through big data. But I agree. With your T-shirt, with a wee gift bag, with your free beer, just have a sticker on it or something.
I was thinking more of people putting them on cars like they used to, windscreens.
Yeah, yeah, that's a way to get yourself punched in the face though these days, isn't it?
Or littering, as it's more commonly known.
Yeah.
But I will say one of the best ones I saw, I think it was for the General, and if I got that wrong, it obviously wasn't one of the best ones. But they set up a board next to the Spartan European Championship so that as you're driving out, not on the side, but further down the road, so the only way you could get out, they had a board talking about their race. Genius idea.
That's brilliant. Exit this way, and your next race is
perfect.
Not Spartan.
Not Spartan. Yeah, perfect. But speaking about next races, I know this might not be your next race, but Martin, Tough Mudder Scotland's coming up.
Is it? Oh,
it is in June.
Don't I know it? Yes, indeed.
How excited are you?
I'm quite excited. I'm not going to lie. We'll need to see what the numbers are like. Obviously, it took a bit of work. There's a little working group that tried to get, because there was no Scottish State, there was no Scottish Spartan, and now we've got a Tough Mudder Scotland. Who knows? Might be the last one we have. It might be the kickstart for them actually going, maybe we just need to absorb a wee bit of a loss and make gains elsewhere. It's a difficult. It's almost like, would you subsidise losses in Scotland for profits elsewhere? Like London South, for example.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because it's that intangible goodwill, because we know the Scottish OCR scene is massive relative to the number of people in Scotland.
Which it is, but with the numbers that unfortunately it takes to put on a Tough Mudder, and there's no compromise with it. I have to take my hats off to them. They don't do it light. They just go in and do what they do. So it's the same values that you get, whether it's Manchester or it's London, whether it's Drumlanrig, but that sort of operation. Perhaps it just needs to be a different venue, something a bit closer to the motorway, something like Perth, where they had the Spartan a few years back. But
yeah, I'm going to ask this as a Scottish person, because to me, Tough Mudder Scotland has always been great. It's a lovely pilgrimage. I'm sadly double booked this time, so I'm not going to be there. But it's always been a bit of a pilgrimage for us to go there. But it's not really that far. It's maybe about 3 hours for me, if that, with a stop. So most of Scotland, I'm generalising here, but the population base is Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Yeah, pretty much. Central Belt. Yeah.
Central Belt. How far is it from there to Drumlanrig, or however you say it?
Drumlanrig is about an hour and a half. It's not actually an awful lot of difference from Edinburgh and Glasgow because of the roads to get down to it. Maybe an hour from Glasgow, just a wee bit less, an hour and a half-ish. It's an awkward place to get to. It's much easier if you're coming from the south, admittedly, because you just branch off the motorway and kind of dodge through the hills, through the Lowther Hills. But if you're talking Central Belt, there are sort of areas, Forest Parkland and stuff in the Central Belt. It's just how amenable they are and how accessible they are. So
it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because an hour and a half. When I think about my situation, I have took 3 now Tough Mudders within an hour of my house. I've got Yorkshire, I've got Manchester, I've got Wales, or Northwest as it's more commonly known. So
Midlands isn't massively far away for you either. So
it's 2 hours straight down.
Yeah, and the Central Belt, although because the thing is you're spending a good 20-30 minutes of travel off the motorway. So if you weren't doing that, you could be in Glasgow or Edinburgh in only about 20 minutes of a difference, really, comparable to Drumlanrig when you think about it. So it kind of makes more sense to move it a wee bit further north and take the hit for that extra hour, because there's no buses and no trains to Drumlanrig. So, go somewhere where there's a closer train station. Even somewhere like Blair Athol in, the Highlands or Perth itself. There's different options, I suppose.
That makes a lot of sense, because obviously you're not the person Tough Mudder's trying to attract. I know they are trying to attract you because you're good friend, but I know you and Scottish OCR scene will travel. The problem that they're not getting the people we just talked about, which is a pretty muddy lot.
Yeah, and when everything's in that core, as you say, I mean, you're technically in the north. And with so many things just 60 minutes from you, probably with a decent parking ride as well, when you think about it, or options of let's all pile in a car. Yeah, absolutely. And if you want big charity groups, they tend to go by minibus. So the extra cost of hiring a minibus and going to the arse end of nowhere in Scotland to be eaten by midges probably doesn't seem as good. But am I excited just to cycle back to that? Yeah, hell, of course I am. It's going to be a good one.
What would actually be good, and they'll never do this, is if they could keep it with the midges and give you maybe a city event in Edinburgh. Not a city event, because we don't do that anymore, but that kind of thing to actually kind of like encourage the growth of the other one. Because once you get them in, I think they travel.
I agree. We did have one in Edinburgh. It was probably horrendous to put on at Arthur's Seat. Holyrood Park, but there are other options, I suppose. But that's probably been completely knocked on the head with Tough Mudder going back to a single distance and getting somewhere urban where you can do a 15 kilometre rather that isn't loops, or 10 plus miles that doesn't involve the dreaded loop system of repeating things. Probably not as easy as it sounds.
No, you're probably right. I am curious as to what Tough Mudder are going to do with some of their city events next year. We've not even touched on this with Alan yet, because Heaton Park, I can't see other. Yes, you could probably get a 10-mile there, but it will be the most boring 10-mile you have ever done, because you're going to be like an ant going back and forth them fields.
Yeah, and if you think the backlash from Finsbury was amusing, just wait until you've done 10 miles and completely turned Heaton Park into the Somme.
Which may have happened last time anyway, but
pretty much. It's a wee bit different, I suppose. But
the locals were celebrating. You couldn't get the mini bikes on for a week.
And it was you just reseed it, a bit of a roller, and it's absolutely fine. It's not like it's being held at Lord's. It's not a cricket pitch. It's not like it's on one of Donald Trump's golf courses in Aberdeenshire.
And Heaton Park in particular has enough concrete paths to run on anyway, because the park
it's got its own railway. I was impressed with that when it was. It can't just take the train to the finish.
I always think this is the thing when people talk about places where I am. You might get this as well, Martin. I always have they'll say things like, "Oh, it's got this, it's got that." I never notice it. I never tourist in my own place. It's like, oh yeah, so it does. And it's got evil geese as well.
Yeah, which Nuclear Fit's got the duck and throw. It's a whole different thing at Heaton Park. It's canard for a start. But yeah,
it's a run from goose. But whilst we're on a whole Scotland tour, let's talk McTuff Kids.
Yeah. So normally you have the MacTuff Sprint or Summer, as it's called, jokingly, and they have the kids race at the same time as the adults race, but they split it up this time. And so we had MacTuff Summer, for want of a better phrase, late spring, let's be honest. And just the weekend there on Sunday, we had MacTuff Kids, which was completely sold out, which is amazing. So I'm all for that. I'm all for a separate kids race. It was 3 kilometers. They have high-low obstacles because your ratio is normally 1 adult with up to 5 kids, depending on their age. So you've got an obstacle. It's a bit harder for the adults, a wee bit easier for the kids, but the older kids can do the adult one as well. And I think it's just a brilliant way of bringing the next generation in, is these separate kids races, which I know Forest has as well. But 3 kilometres, that's a pretty decent distance.
That is 3K. That's almost 2 miles, I want to say.
Yeah. Because even Little Mudder, I mean, that's what, 1 mile?
It is. They really need to bring Mighty Mudder across, which is be slightly better, because problem with Mini Mudder is once you get to a stage where you're almost competing, it isn't the best thing for the kids who perhaps play football at a good level, or rugby at a good level, or hockey at a good level. It won't scratch that itch of competitiveness. Yeah,
that's it. It's not a big enough a jump. But a colleague at work, one of my dispatch colleagues, had said that their kids got a phone call about half an hour before saying such and such has pulled out. Do you want this free ticket? He's competitive. He's sort of at that competitive level of football. And they're going, oh, what the hell? Why not? And now he's thinking, I could do a Tough Mudder. I want to do more. I've loved this. So where does it go? This is the whole thing that British Obstacle Sports are trying to do with their juniors. So more junior races, please. More Mac Tough kids.
No, exactly, listener, exactly. And we did get some pictures, including some of the stuff from Rat Race, courtesy of Sorrel, who I've probably mispronounced her name. That's Michelle Keogh's sister, but thank you so much for
Michelle Carney.
Yeah, Michelle Carney, thank you. Oh, sorry, Michelle. It's been one of them weeks, and I'm on the builder, so we know what I'm like. Apology corner early, but yes. So check them out. Whilst you mentioned British Obstacle, quick plug: the 100-meter National Trials South, hosted by PT Barn. They are Sunday, of 28th of May, from 10 to 3 p.m. So what you can do is do High Rocks World Champs on the Saturday, and then hightail it down the motorway and go to the PT Barn.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
It sounds like an excellent plan, and it's not that expensive actually. It is saying that tickets are 25 quid, or non-members 30 quid.
That's not bad.
And for a tenner, if you bring the wee ones around, there's an unofficial junior trial, and that's for 10 pluses. So again, scratching that competitive itch.
Yeah, absolutely. Does that lead us on to 8th of July, the Summer Fun Run?
It does lead us on. Rawfit are hosting the Summer Fun Run at the 8th of July. So before you go to Forest Warrior, go and see our good friend Rick and go and have fun there.
Yeah, Hastings, not massively far away.
So Martin, despite Alan not being here, there's the door.
Who could it be?
Well, it's our good friends all the way from Hong Kong. They don't live there, but they've just been there. First, we've got James Kelly. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ian. Great to be back, actually. Great to be back.
And listener, yes, James is Australian. He's not from South Africa. He's not from New Zealand. He's Australian. And also, a good friend of the show, Tom Hogan. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, lads, before we get going, what are you drinking? James, I'm going to come to you first.
Well, this is a honesty podcast, isn't it, Ian?
It's absolutely an honesty podcast. I explained I was drinking Builder earlier, so what are you on?
Yeah, I am also drinking Builder as well right now. Thanks to the Tommy Hogan, yes. Builder, and my favourite is the raspberry lime. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, that's the nicest one. Tina disagrees with me, but she's wrong.
Yeah, we have the raspberry lime here as well. It doesn't smell as bad before making it as the tropical one does. The pre-mixed smell of tropical put me right off. But Tom,
I'm not drinking Builder. I'm drinking the only can that was in the fridge. I don't even know how it got there, but it's Beavertown Gamma Ray American Pale Ale.
Beavertown.
Wow.
Tastes like piss.
Fair enough. That is your American Pale Ales, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, Tom, I'm going to come to you first because you've got quite a story to tell. About 3 weeks ago, did you have any plans to go to Hong Kong?
Never in my life have I ever had a plan to go to Hong Kong.
So can you explain to everyone who might not be familiar what happened and why?
Saturday 2 weeks ago. Was that 2 weeks ago? Hanover happened, and I got booted out of the Elite 15. And I kind of knew it was coming from the women's race was on in the morning, but the men's race wasn't on till late afternoon. But I kind of knew from the women's race that it was going to come. And then I spent all day Sunday kind of fielding calls and texts from people saying, "Why don't you go to Hong Kong?" And to be honest, it was all them that put it in my head. Like I didn't think on Saturday at any point myself I'm going to go to Hong Kong.
So this is obviously High Rocks Hong Kong for listeners who are not overly familiar with what we were talking because we went
I
straight
just wanted
to
to try
it.
these.
Just wanted a takeaway. But we were texting, of course. Was I the only one who was giving you like a reason thing of it's up to you, mate? Just see whether it's worth it in the long run. It might roll down. Was I the only one doing that?
No, loads of people were texting. Seamus was straight on the phone saying, "Get on a plane." Nina was telling me to get on a plane. Hunter rang me and said, "Have you booked a ticket yet?" This was like an hour after the race happened. So I was getting it from all angles.
So I was the only one hedging my bets for. I was like, yeah, Tom, you need a serious look about this. Everyone else was, you need to get on that plane already.
Yeah.
So after Dean and booked you a flight, presumably paid out of her money, yes?
Oh, yeah. So she's the one who wanted me to go, so it's only right she paid.
What an anniversary present you got for her. She paid for you going to Hong Kong. It's great. Yeah. So please talk to me about somatics then. How on earth did you get to Hong Kong? When did you fly out?
I fully decided on, because I was texting James all the time too. And I think it was only on Tuesday that I actually fully decided and said to him, I'm going to come. Booked a flight on Tuesday evening and flew out on Wednesday lunchtime.
Booked a flight, flew out less than 24 hours later.
Yep, pretty much. It was one of those things where if I had actually sat down and thought about it, I would have never done it.
That's true. Martin, do you have anything to add at this point?
This sounds like the best FSI ever. This is my level of dumb, mate. I'm really impressed. But I'm not an athlete, so this is the sort of nonsense I would go, that sounds like an awesome idea. I might not die. Let's do it. So yeah, hats off, mate. Independent spirit. Love it.
To me, this sounds like a stag do gone wrong.
Yeah, in Hong Kong.
All right.
I've booked tickets, lads, but I'm not telling you where.
To be fair, there was a couple. Like if James hadn't been going to Hong Kong, I don't think it would have. I wouldn't have entertained the thought at all, because I don't think it's possible to just go and fully time trial one of these things. I think you do need to have good athletes around you. So that was a major kind of turning point in the decision that there was going to be somebody else there who was also going for the time, and we could kind of push each other to try and get it. Whereas if it had been just either of us just trying to solo it, I think it's very, very hard to do. You need everything to fall 100% perfect to do that.
No, that is a very good point. And James, we've spoke on the Fitness Racing podcast. Hong Kong was always in your sight. So I think you were a fairly bit more organised than Tom when it came to getting out there, correct?
Yeah, but the reason behind that, Ian, is because I've been 16th, 17th, and then 18th ranked for maybe like 2 months now. So I've been out of the Elite 15 for about 2 months, and Hong Kong was my only option as well to get back into that Elite 15. So yeah, I was always kind of going on the way to Manchester world. So as soon if I'm completely honest with you guys, like I didn't even speak to you about this, Tom. Like, as soon as you told me that you're coming, or like telling me that you're thinking about it, the only thing I thought about is like, fantastic. Like I wanted you to come because of what you just said, Tom, and that's you can't time trial it. The more elite athletes around you, the better. So yeah, I was super excited when Tom decided to come, and then lo and behold, we had someone else that was leading the charge for the whole race anyway, Gabe, that came out of nowhere, which was great as well. So yeah, no, it was a great race.
I have to ask you, James, I'm going to come to you first. Did you know Gabe? Did you speak to him before the race?
No, the first thing the only thing I heard was apparently there was a 4-minute miler that we're up against. But can I be honest with you? As soon as I heard that, I was like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, you can run a 3:30 mile and be fast, but if you can't compromise run, then there's no point. But as everyone knows, he could bloody compromise run to save his life. He was fantastic, and like it, like I'm assuming a lot of people listening to this understood what happened. But Gabe not only led the charge, but he led the whole race, and there was points in the stations that Tom and I were catching up on him, which was fantastic. We were obviously like, well, I personally was like excited that I was getting closer to him, and then all of a sudden he'd just take off, and we just didn't see him. We just did not see him in any of the laps running, which is so fascinating. So yeah, no idea.
Yeah, the only one who could keep up with him was the cameraman, who really deserves a medal.
Yeah, it was fascinating watching him try to keep up. He did a very good job.
He did. I've never seen anyone who's listened to this who's on the live stream. I've never seen a live stream as united as we all were to tell the cameraman, just take the next lap off, just hang out at the workout station.
That's right.
Don't be a hero. At one point, I think he was going to make a move and overtake Gabe. Yeah, I think he thought this Elite 15 is mine. I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
So, Tom, I'm going to ask about Gabe as well, and then we're going to move on to your particular races, because you and James, of course, you'd studied the Elite 15, you were aware of the times that you needed to beat. Mentally, did that change your game plan at all, knowing that he was running at such a thing that no longer did you guys have to catch 14th and 15th, you also had to catch 13th?
Yeah, well, I was doing, like, when I was third for a lot of the race, so I was in my head doing the sums on what Tiago had, and I knew he was high 47s. So I was trying to work out, could three of us possibly beat these three times? And at one point, probably up to more than halfway, it looked like the three of us could beat that. But he didn't. Like, Gabe didn't alter my race in any way, because like James just said, we kind of spoke just before it and talked, because we had heard about this sub 4 minute miler, and we were both of the opinion that if he can run that fast, well, let him on, and if he can hold it, well, that's it. We're not going to be able to run with that anyway. And it was so weird, because he just looked like he was dying in every station. Like, we were on the burpee broad jumps and it looked like he was going backwards, and I was thinking, yeah, that's the end of him. And the second he got out of there and started running again, he was gone. Like James said, we did not see him on the run. He was so fast. He came into the rower, and like, I've seen a video of it since, and I don't know what that technique was or how he even managed to row 1,000 meters that way. But again, he got through it, got out. We caught him on the lunges. He got out and got going. It's just crazy that somebody could be dying in every single station and go out and just kill the runs every single time.
That's exactly like my race, except the killing the runs. Dying in every, and I probably should, because this is an OCR show, I probably should clue the audience in something that Tom and James didn't know, was that he wasn't just a 4 minute miler, he was a 4 minute miler Spartan elite athlete, which meant he could do compromise running for days.
Yeah. Well, I think he will shake things up next year. And I think if he had got into the Elite 15, it would have changed the whole dynamic of the championship race, because somebody that fast, everyone would have had to rethink their own race, because are you going to go with him now, or are you going to hold off and hope that he dies on the station, which he mightn't have? I think it would have been fascinating to have him in there, because people who may be thinking I'm going to sit in Manchester wouldn't have been able to sit, because he wouldn't have came back that much. So you would have had to kind of go with him.
No, that's true, because, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Someone like that, because you are in the Elite 15, you are at different paces, although you are all roughly, you're on a bit of a bell curve, aren't you? You are on a bell curve, and I'm sure Greg from Rocks Live can probably plot out the bell, but he would completely smash it, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he'd change everything. Especially being unknown. Like, people fear the unknown. If you're after racing someone a couple of times, you kind of know what way to move and stuff. But if a whole totally new guy comes in, everyone thinks, well, shit, now what?
Yeah, that's true. Mintra, is it too late to reconsider that penalty you gave him? Please put him in. I'm kidding. That would not be fair on Peter, but yeah, it would have been interesting. So, James, could you take us through the race a little bit? Don't go station to station, but how did you feel like going round?
Well, start before the race, James. Tell him what happened before the race.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone actually knows this, but we got Tom and I got a message from Hyrox Hong Kong about an hour and a half before the race saying, can you two let us know when you get here? We're like, yeah, we're here. All of a sudden we registered, and all of a sudden the organisers, 5 or 6 of them, swarmed on us pretty much. Like, it felt like that. And a long story short, told us that they were adding 40 kilos to both sleds. And Tom and I looked at each other and totally just could not believe that. We just, like, yeah, we're up in arms. Obviously the reason behind that was because of the, I don't know the wording, but the lack of friction through the sleds, and the carpets, etc., etc. They were very professional to show us the little dongle thing that they use. However, at that time, with everything going on, us being athletes and wanting to focus on the race, we didn't really care about the dongle thing. We just wanted to know, like, how that's going to feel. And from my end, like, when I train and overload the sleds, man, I can barely push 220, let alone 240. So what happened was Tom and I went away together. It was just, what's going to happen here? We decided to go to the warm-up area and test it out. And lo and behold, from my end, I don't know what about how Tom views it, but I feel like they did the right thing, because the sled that we pushed, which was 240 kilos, I'm assuming, was pretty much the same stimulus as what I've had in other races. And then the same with the sled pull. I thought the sled pull was a little bit harder than the sled push on the day. But anyway, like, it ended up being fine, and it ended up being this, to me personally, it ended up being the same stimulus as what I've experienced. But the mental, like, it just shocked us for the warm up and dealing with that, like, mental pressure beforehand. It was just crazy. Like, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, so that's kind of what happened before the race even started.
Yeah, what I
Did
will
you know that, Ian?
I found out after because someone clued me in. I won't reveal my sources because
Yeah.
it's not nice to reveal your sources. But I was clued in after, and what was fascinating to all of us watching at home is honestly them sleds, particularly the push. It looked like Tom and Hunter back in London to some degree. They were sliding. I think it was for the same reason. I think those carpets are pretty much brand new. I think the sleds are probably brand new. So under it, there's not enough friction. But that wouldn't have had a massive impact on the sled pull, which is a different one. You mentioned it was harder. Tom, did you find it harder?
Sled pull was tough. Yeah, like, that was noticeably harder than the push. The push was fine, but I thought the sled pull felt like much heavier than the sled pull in Cologne felt.
Yeah, when I saw the push, I could hear Rich Ryan breaking furniture in his living room from here. But no, I'm kidding, Rich. But yeah, to be fair, it did look strange. It was a strange sight. It could have been an open weight from what we were watching.
Like, there was a 47-second men's double sled push on the Saturday, which I think is why they added weight onto us on the Sunday.
I think the record is still you and Hunter. I clocked you guys at about 30 seconds. I've not checked the actual
Don't even do that.
scores, but I'm fairly sure. Tell you what, I'm going to look that up. While I'm doing that, James, can you just go through the rest of your race?
Oh, as we have kind of told you guys already, but Gabe took off, and we did not see him in any of the runs, or I didn't. As Tom said, there was a few stations later on in the race that we felt as if we were catching him. Especially after the row and the burpee broad jumps and the lunges and whatnot. But then no, he was just too strong of a runner. Personally, like I just remember Tom and I just kind of going back and forth most of the race. Which ultimately, like from my end, was the best thing about it, because I don't think I would have got a what I get a 58:36 without that what's the word, like without an
Unofficial
athlete
pacer.
like Tom by my side. Yeah, exactly. So it was great. Personally, I can't be happier with my race, apart from I couldn't believe that my warballs at the end weren't as strong as they have been at the past in the past. But that's that's probably more so to do with how much like more work I've put into other areas of the race as well. So yeah, that's my experience of the race. Like at the end of the day, I couldn't have done anything more.
No, you. Sadly, we did see that initially you were so strong on them wall balls, and something kind of like turned. If that makes sense, you were banging them out. In fact, James, I think it was when you stopped first. Had you just carried on, you would either have done them unbroken or died there and
Oh
then.
yeah,
So,
absolutely, exactly. Easier said than done.
Exactly. Tom, I'm going to come to you and ask for your highlights of your race. But before I do, I've looked it up. Guess what you and Hunter did in London, the first ever London.
I thought we were 115 or something.
For your sled Porsche, you were 44 seconds.
44.
What?
44 seconds. I on the UKHXR Instagram, scroll all the way to our first post, and we do have a video. It's not the best video. We do have a video of you two on it.
I remember actually pushing the sled, like being 2 or 3 meters from the line, and just pushing the sled, and it just kept going and went over the line, and Hunter grabbed it and started pushing it back the other direction.
Yeah, it was like a shopping trolley. but yeah, so you beat those Hong Kong pair just. But Tom, let's talk about Hong Kong. So how was your race?
Yeah, well, it went well. Look, I suppose, like I was 100% confident going in that we'd both get a good enough time. Like I 100% believed from the second I got on the plane that both of us would qualify. That we would get, once I saw the course map and it was going to be 2 laps and there was going to be big long straights, I knew there wouldn't be too many people on the course, so I wasn't going to be weaving in and out of people. We could really open up on the runs. So I thought we were going to do it, and I spent more time in that race than any other race kind of calculating things as the stations were going by. And for a long time, I still believed we were going to kind of do it. And like I said to you, I thought 3 of us could do it at one point. But with a station or 2 to go, and when I was in third, I really thought that I'm not going to actually get in now. But I might as well just kind of keep going. And then I was like, let's try hold on to the 16th in case someone does drop out of this thing. And that's, for the last run and going into the wall balls, that's what was in my head, that I'm going to be 16th now. And I'll make sure I hold on to 16th place in case there's a dropout. And I never once kind of looked over on the wall balls, but I could hear different counts coming back, and I knew I was kind of catching a little bit. And it was very noisy on the wall balls, wasn't it, James? The crowd were actually pretty fantastic there, and they were kind of pushing us on, the staff and that. So it was hard to know until the last second what was actually after happening.
Yeah, can I just mention about the wall balls? It was unusual on the live feed because Gabe and James were lined up side by side, which often happens with first and second. You came in third, and even though there was an empty space next to James, they put you like one away. Did you notice that?
Yeah. I don't know why. But there was a girl there who like was stopping me and pointing at the ball, so we picked it up.
And you don't
I think
speak Mandarin, so you had no clue.
I had told him I wanted a lighter one. Maybe that's what it was. I got the
Yeah.
I got the 7 kg ball.
We've spoken in the past. If you could have a 15 kg ball, you'd be much happier.
Yeah, the heavier the better. Yeah, ball's quicker.
Yeah. So you crossed the line. You looked up at the screen, and did you have in your head what 14th had? So did you know what score you needed when you crossed the line, Tom?
I knew it needed to be 20. Yeah, 50 at 20. I think it might
Right.
have been 50 at 21, but I had rounded down.
Right.
Give myself a second.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, James, sadly, you were just after Tom, but it's so tight in the Elite 15, you found yourself in that 16th spot, haven't you?
Yeah. And as I said before, like it's the only wall ball end to a race that I've had where I actually was fairly mentally fatigued that I can't really remember it. Apart from I do remember Tom crossing the line. I remember braking and then seeing Tom cross the line. But then yeah, no, I look, it's funny. As I just said, it's the only one that I really can't remember. Like Cologne, I really remember. Birmingham, I remember. So yeah, yeah. So 16th.
But you're in a good position in that I know you're already in Manchester. You're not that far from a good self. So you're in a good position for a late dropout or an injury or something like that. And we'll just talk about Wolves briefly. So, James, is your current plan to go on Saturday and go and do pro whatever your age group is?
Yeah, absolutely. Like at the end of the day, it's one of those things for me now in that as much as I would love to be a part of that Elite 15 squad right here, right now, what's done is done, and there's nothing I can do about that. So my focus right now is to win my age group of 25 to 29. I'm in Manchester now for the next 2 weeks and working and training and enjoying myself. So I'll give myself every opportunity to feel good for that race on Saturday. And if it does come about that someone does drop out, I'll be ready to go on. I'll be ready to go on Friday night. And I've let Mintra know that. I've let Mintra know that even if it's 5 minutes before the race and someone drops out, I'm fucking there.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
But has Mintra passed on your phone number to US Airlines just in case there's the occasional, should we say, call to the flight carrying over a few athletes over here? Yeah. Sorry, guys, you're going to have to turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah. James will be at Manchester Airport next week checking passports. Oh,
We're flying drones up into the sky, so no planes.
no planes can fly. Dylan Scott. No, I'm sorry, Dylan. You need in Manchester, New Hampshire, not Manchester, England. Off you go.
Yeah, that's right.
So joking aside, Tom, I presume that because you've got the hard-earned Elite 15, you've decided you're not going to go ahead with it and you're just going to drink all next week, yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to celebrate getting in, just party all next week.
But no, you are planning to do the Elite 15.
Yeah, one last dance, and that's it. I think James and Bo are just being nice. The boys have James could be 10 more years doing elite races. He knows that this was my last chance, so he was nice and let me have
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that too. And yeah, it is your last until we petition Hyrox for. We were talking on the show earlier about how Masters in OCR is 40 plus. So we need to. I know they have age groups, but maybe they need to have a Masters Elite 15.
Yeah, where you don't have to do proper burpees.
Where you don't have to do proper burpees.
You don't have to get down the ground anymore because your hips are too sore.
I could win that. I could so win that. Right, before I wrap it up, guys, I'm just need to make an announcement of a race that is happening this week because the Elite 15 is happening, as you're hearing this, a week from now. But this weekend, Friday and Saturday, we have the Farmyard Jam, which is Alan's race, which is why he's not here, of course. So that is a 48-hour or a 24-hour obstacle race. It is you have to do the course within the hour and set off on the hour every hour. So
Wow.
yeah, so listener, we will keep you up to date on that on our socials, and Alan will be back next week and we'll break it down. But before I let you go, James, is there anything you'd like to say? Any last words?
No, just thank you for having me back on, Ian, and see you in 2 weeks' time, or sorry, 1 week's time.
Well, yeah, see you in a week's time, or if you get really bored, you're close enough that you could probably catch the tram and say howdy. So there's that. Tom, anything last to say?
Like I said, James looks very cold. He's a woolly hat and everything on him. He's only in England like a day. The man is freezing to death already.
I'm freezing.
I need to. James, is that actually why you're here for a week and a half to try and acclimatise?
Mate, I feel like I have to. It's freezing at the moment in Manchester. It's about 12 degrees.
Yeah, taps off.
I'm just checking. Listener, as I'm recording this, it is 15 degrees.
Height of summer.
With wind of only 5 kilometres. I will probably have the window open tonight. It's that hot.
As it gets. It's as good as it gets.
You'll need a wee hot water bottle.
Well, in the sunny southeast today, James, it's 22 degrees here today. There you go. You come over and thaw yourself out.
So Tom, you won't need to acclimatise because sadly Ireland has very similar weather and that. But have you got anything last to say about High Rocks or anything generally?
No. The interesting week to kind of see what happens if the 15 does change, because about an hour before we got on this call, I think a second lady spot has changed.
Oh gosh. And I'm scheduled to be recording my Elite 15 preview soon, so I really wish they'd stop doing that.
I'm not 100% sure, but I saw someone added into the group, so I'm presuming it's a change.
Right. You have to find out who was removed. But yeah, so frustrating to James because he's there thinking, people are dropping out, but wrong gender.
Yeah.
We'll
see.
We'll see. Right, Martin, before I let you go, thank you, of course, for being the co-host today. Have you got anything else to say before we wrap it up?
I do, if I can bend your ear for a couple of minutes. Obviously, as someone that took part in his first High Rocks in Glasgow, and absolutely loved it, and I did a bit of the volunteering as well. Loved the kit, but just to plug, as an awful segue, the new technical officials vests, I suppose, running vests, technical vests from British Obstacle Sports, really nice, really sweet. They will be running another course, so if you fancy being a technical official, I certainly found having done the technical officials helped give me a wee bit more confidence to doing the High Rocks as well when you're challenging people, especially on the BBJs. Massively, just understanding, just being a bit more professional about things, because obviously in the Tough Mudder world we're not professional.
The broad jumps are the hardest one to fight with the judge on, because you can't breathe.
Yeah, and that's why we call them BBJs, because they suck. And
we almost lasted the whole show.
Well, I did make a joke about Amsterdam earlier, but and the other thing I wanted, just because you were talking about pace, did you see the Alexander Sorokin doing the 100 kilometers, 62 miles at 5.53 minute a mile?
Yes, Kieran McAvoy shared that, and it was one of them stories which I was meant to chat to you early. So thank you, Kieran. You know what? I'm going to put a pin in that, and I will discuss that with Alan. But what I will say, James and Tom, if you see this guy's name on the High Rocks in the future, I don't know what his compromised running is like, but anyone who can do 100k at sub 6 minutes, I think he might do quite well.
Yeah, but that other ultra runner never came back, did he? Sebastian, was it?
Yeah, Sebastian, he did it. He did it once. Well, anyway, listener, I know this is a long show, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Martin, you know how to get it going.
I certainly do. It's good night for me.
And Tom?
No, I have a half a beer left. No good night yet.
James?
It's past my bedtime. I'm lights out now.
So good night. And it's a good night from all of us and a good night from me, listener. Speak to you all soon.